Hello everyone, this is Johannes.
And this is Cinema.
And you are watching Board Gaming Ramblings.
And today we are taking a look at the Mandalorian Adventures.
This is a new game designed by Corey Konieska and Josh Bepler, published by Unexpected Games.
It plays from 1 to 4 players in 30 to 60 minutes.
Yes, the Mandalorian Adventures. This was one of the games I was super excited to get at Gen Con. Wanted to get out there. This is a review copy of the game, so you know that before going into the thing. We, as always, are going to talk about the overview, then we're going to go into the other stuff. This game is a cooperative game from 1 to 4 players. Some scenarios only have lesser than 4 characters, and you have to share characters. And we have only played it with 2, so we didn't go into that, just so you know that. The gameplay is very straightforward. You're going to have a character with a health hit point. I'm just going to put it over there. You're going to play through scenarios, which has different objectives, different ways to fail, and different rules for different maps you are playing in this map book. This is the first map. This is the thing you will see, when even though this isn't really like a story game or a campaign game, as we will talk about soon, we are not going to spoil the other things or the things you unlock throughout the game. We're only going to show you what you will see the first time you play the game. On your turn, you're going to have to play 2 cards from your hand of cards. You're going to have 4 cards in your hand. Most of them are going to have numbers of them. Some are going to have special abilities and a number on them. When you play a card, you're going to play one of your cards to one of the 4 actions at the bottom here. You're going to place it, and you're going to do that action. The number depends, tells you how good the action is going to be. What you're trying to do basically is to plan your cards or play your cards in the best way possible, so to not reach the number 5 or more. Because when I'm on my turn, I'm going to play this over here. I get now an attack of 2, because this one shows me I get a plus on attack. This is going to be a 5, which is then going to trigger an event, which is what makes the enemies move around, attack you, and try to kill you in different ways. If you end up playing something that goes over 5, you can also trigger like a crisis, which has different things for different scenarios you will play. Every player is going to play 2 cards, then it's going to be the next player's turn after you trigger the events, draw more cards, and that's basically what you're going to do. Depending on the scenario, of course, you have different goals, but you will be moving around. You will be using intel to look at these tokens that you might need to find out what is. Oh, this is one we needed. Now I can tell you that. I can't show you, but I can tell you this is one that we need. So this might be a place that we want to go. I can use the intel to move enemies, or I can also plan to get special planning cards, which has powerful abilities as well. That is basically what you're going to do in the game. You're going to win the scenario, or you're going to lose, and then you can play another scenario or the same scenario again. The first X times amount of times you play the game, you are going to unlock different things, change up the games, get new ways to play the game, and that is how the game evolves. As I said, it's not really a campaign game or a legacy game, but it changes different ways and basically adds to the complexity and gives you new rules throughout the games or the first few times you play the game. Yes, we're not going to go deeply into what you unlock, but we're going to talk more a bit like the story campaign part of it in the review as well. But that is the overview. Let's talk about other things.
Yes.
Things you can see with your 2 eyes, or 1 or 0 if you don't have any, then you can't see anything.
The artwork and components in this game are nice. It has classic Star Wars artwork,
yes,
which is expected, and the quality of components is also as expected. It's decent, it's good, I have no complaints, but it's nothing like that I'm just like, wow, they have this in the game. So it's what I want from this game.
I also like the fact that you could have blinged this out.
Oh yeah.
Made a super expensive game with miniatures and stuff. This works very well for this.
I'm very happy that they didn't. It basically is cards, tokens, and these have like this. Then
bases,
these,
yeah.
but we have laid it down for this occasion.
To make it easier to see it.
But no minis in this game. I like that.
I agree. There is a rulebook. It is pretty short. It has, let's see, it has 15 rules, 15 pages, 15 rules, 15 pages, but you don't need to read anymore until page 13 before you start playing the game. And there's a lot of pictures, a lot of examples. It's a very simple game, and also the rulebook makes it easy to explain or to learn it, and there's also a video you can watch to also learn the game, so I'm going to give it a thumbs up. Is there a I'm going to say lightsaber, even though there isn't lightsabers a lot in this one. Lightsaber up.
There are player aids in this game. There's one double-sided one for each player, and one is like the structure of the turn, and the other one is the enemy's abilities, which was handed to just like keeping track of.
So Sunima, have you played the game?
We have played the game.
Oh, we played it together, so you didn't play it
Yes.
solo.
We have played it 2 players only, and it has taken us approximately 30 minutes per scenario.
So we cannot talk about the experience playing it with more than 2 people. I would feel like I'm happy playing it with 2 because then you're always going to have characters to play with. I would not like to play a scenario where I didn't have a character. I kind of have to share a character. That kind of sounds weird. It's a co-op game, so it doesn't really matter because you're like, but you have like your hidden hand of cards and all of that. But we cannot speak about that because we have only played it 2 players.
The interesting thing is that in many games where there's enemies that you have to defeat, you have like a scaling. There's more enemies or harder enemies with more players. But in this case, this is basically the scaling because of the triggering of the enemies when you play more cards. So when you're more players, you're going to play more cards here. That means the enemies are going to activate more times.
Yeah, or basically you want to do this a same amount of things before you die.
Yes.
Basically, so when you play more people, you might do less things on less turns that you're going to have.
Yourself, yeah.
And this basically for me is the game. Like the puzzle of placing these, trying to, I have to over trigger it now. I don't really want to do that, but that's a really good action. That puzzle of playing the cards in the right order, trying to do the best actions, but also try to not trigger and especially not get a crisis, which is over 5. You are going to trigger things.
Yeah.
So you're trying to trigger it at 5 as many times as possible, so as you will not get a crisis, which will make the game harder for you. I feel like this, like the things I do on the map is fun. But the fun puzzle is this. That is my feeling of the game.
I agree. This is kind of the same system that they've used in the Initiative, which we really enjoy. That's an amazing game.
Yes.
And I think it's cool to see it here in like a different context. I think it works very well. I think it's interesting also that you have the abilities on your cards because that also adds to the decision making. Because if it was just numbers, you wanted to I'm moving on, attacking with 3. But I have this good card that it's not really a number I need for that, but it gives me a special ability as well. Or I didn't really want to do the intel right now, but I would use the ability that's good right now, for example.
Yes, when the game starts out, it's a very straightforward game. Again, we can it can get more involved. That's what I'm going to say. Like I'm not going to explain why, but it's if you look at this and you feel like it's too simple, but you like the concept, you might like it later on because it is going to add things that makes it more complicated, more advanced, harder difficulty modes. I would say it might still be difficult now. Like we mostly played on a novice.
Oh yeah.
Because there are already 3 different difficulty levels. If you like your games harder, there's novice, there's normal, and there's hard and veteran mode, which you can play from the beginning of the game. But it's a very straightforward. I would put it in that category of it's a family weight game because especially in the beginning when you play with novice, you can play this with kids that like Mandalorian. It's not like a heavy big game. The puzzle might be like a bit hard to. If you're too young, it might be a bit hard, but it's not a gamer's very heavy cooperative game, which makes it a better cooperative game for me.
Yeah.
Because I don't usually like the bigger, crunchier co-op games because the decisions take so long, you discuss so much. This also feels kind of thematic in that way because you are fast doing the things. 30 minutes, perfect playtime for me for 2 people. So that is like a positive for me, that it's a lighter experience and you can basically tailor it in ways to make it lighter or more complex for yourself.
I really like that as well. I think that is one of the most good things, the better things about this game is that the line of sight rules, like the movement of the enemies, the movement of you, the attacking of you, the attacking of the enemies, like everything is very simple and straightforward. So the rule checking was like a minimum. The playtime, as I said, was also it was fast. That means if you're playing with kids, adults, I don't know, if you lose...
People.
Yes, people. You can just go again. That is much harder when we've invested like 2.5, 3 hours or possibly more into a Gloomhaven scenario,
Yes.
and we lose. It isn't that fun to be like, okay, let's just do this again.
I agree.
This very simple, I feel
I
like.
agree. Let's talk a bit about what this game is and what it isn't. Because I kind of thought it would be a campaign game, which I am a huge fan of, even though we never finished those campaign games.
That's true.
This is not a campaign game. You can play it like through the missions. There's 4 maps in this book. So that's not a spoiler, basically. If you don't want to know anything about anything, this is the part of the thing you shouldn't watch, and you can jump back into the final thoughts. But this is the 4 maps you're getting. You will mostly, probably when you play it the first time, you're going to play the 4 missions, and after each round, as I said, you're going to do something with a guide deck that changes up things. There are 2 envelopes in the game. We have opened them all. We haven't played all of the things, but I will not tell you what's in them. But basically, it adds ways to play the game. It's not adding, it's adding more, but it's not like, oh, now you unlock this and changes the game completely. It kind of does, but not in the legacy campaign way that you're used to. But there's 2 envelopes, and both of them like changes and adds ways you can play the game. So this is more like a scenario game, where I'm gonna be like, oh, this time I want to do this kind of scenario on this map with this character and see what happens. How did you feel about that?
Absolutely, I agree. I'm trying not to spoil that much.
Yes.
Not that it's like a huge story to spoil here.
No, because it's the TV show.
Yeah, it is the TV show, and you're not playing this for the story.
Nope.
But I felt like you're going to explore like new characters with new abilities that you can play with. They get more advanced. You can also up the difficulty level. That sort of things.
Yeah, so it changes up, and it will add. There's many ways to play the game. I think they said, like I heard they said this, and so I'm gonna say it now. It's like 20 different ways to play the game, at least. So that you know that. That doesn't mean that there's 20 maps. That doesn't mean that there's like 20 story missions. It is just like different ways to experience this game. And of course, when you add like playing with different characters, because they have different synergies and different abilities, there's a lot of variability if you like the core concept of the game. So what do you think is the weight of this game, and who is it for?
I think this is great for Star Wars fans if you want like a lighter and more also time-friendly, family-friendly, like cooperate skirmish game like this.
Yeah, and also as I said, like you can start it there, but you can also like it's also gonna be for people I think who like harder, more thinky co-op games. You can just up the difficulty level or play one of the harder ways to play the game. Basically, like if you like Star Wars and you enjoy it, but you have to enjoy this core system, which is like my favorite part of the game. Let's do some final thoughts. But before that, if you are new to our channel and you are enjoying what we do, you can help us out in a way that is bigger than you think by giving us a victory point.
And we get victory points when you click that subscribe button. You can also click the bell to get notifications every time we post a new video.
Final thoughts time for the Mandalorian adventures.
I thought it was fun. I have to say, like, as you said, I enjoyed this the most.
Yes.
And the things on the map, it's mostly like not super duper exciting to me. I found it not that I need more complicated stuff, but I think we played like now like I feel like we're like we played through the beginning.
Yeah.
And now for me to stay interested, I want like other maps and more like changing of the stuff. Not kind of more the same. I think I want like even more.
I think it's going to change quite a lot if you play it the other ways. It's going to be on the same map, but with a lot of changes to it.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we cannot speak about how that changes.
Yeah, of course. But the main reason keeping me in a game like this, no matter like the things, is kind of that I have a story to follow.
Yeah.
It is. And this game doesn't have that in the same way as others that I've experienced. So therefore, I feel like now the story is done. I'm kind of done with it now, even though I enjoy the core concept of it. So for my rating, I think I'm gonna land on a 6.5. I enjoyed it, but there's nothing that keeps me interested to play through the 20 different ways you can play this game.
Yeah. I like the game. I had fun while playing the game. I think that this is, again, like co-op games with not the story part is going to have a hard time landing with me. But then again, I enjoy this because it's a lighter experience, a shorter experience. the fact that we're not continuing playing it is not like telling a lot about the game, because we
That's
don't
true,
continue
actually,
playing
yeah.
a lot of games. So I agree with that I'm kind of like, I enjoyed my time playing it. I don't know when I will choose to play it again. I think, and this is going to happen every time I do my final thoughts, this is going to take a little bit about who I think will like this, because we didn't do that in the other part, because it makes so much sense to me to like put it in here. Basically, if you enjoy cooperative games and you're like, oh, let's try this new mission, and you don't need a story for that, I think a lot of people will like that for this. I had fun with it. My rating is going to be a 7. I had fun while I played it. I think it's going to be for a lot of people. So again, most of the things that isn't for me here is not a game problem, but a me problem, which is fine. So basically, just we hope that you get a feeling that if this might be a you game or not a you game, which is what we want basically to tell you in our videos.
That's true.
And that's going to be the end of this video. We hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Johannes.
I'm Sinwa.
And you've been watching Board Gaming Ramblings, and bye-bye.